All right, y'all, here we go. Time to spill them coffee beans. Wake up, wake up, wake up. You are officially on the Wake Up and Smell the Coffee show, Infinity TV. I am your host, Chantel, better known as Miss Recycle, and you are officially on the Wake Up and Smell the Coffee show. Introducing the Pygmies, y'all. Let's go.
Reloaded. Published by Ancient Greece Reloaded. The diminutive human tribe. The Pygmies, Greek, pygmaioi, from the adjective pygmeos, from the noun pygma, which means fist, boxing, distance from elbow to knuckles, and from the adverb pyx, with the fist, were a tribe of diminutive humans in Greek mythology. According to the Iliad, they were involved in a constant war with the cranes, which migrated in winter to their homeland on the southern shores of the earth encircling River Oceanus.
Listen, winter was created.
Now, when the men of both sides were set in order by their leaders, the Trojans came on with clamor and shouting, like wildfowl, as when the clamor of cranes goes high to the heavens, when the cranes escape the winter time and the rains unceasing, and clamorously wing their way to the streaming ocean, bringing to the Pygmaean men bloodshed and destruction. At daybreak they bring on the baleful battle against them. According to Aristotle in History of Animals, the story is true. These birds, the cranes, migrate from the steppes of Scythia to the marshlands south of Egypt, where the Nile has its source. And it is here, by the way, that they are said to fight with the Pygmies, and the story is not fabulous, but there is in reality a race of dwarfish men, and the horses are little in proportion, and the men live in caves underground. One story in Ovid describes the origin of the age-old battle, speaking of a pygmy queen named Joanna. See notes below. Who offended the goddess Hera with her boasts of superior beauty and was transformed into a crane. In art, the scene was popular, with little pygmies armed with spears and slings, riding on the backs of goats, battling the flying cranes. The 2nd century BC tomb near Pantikapaeum, Crimea, shows the battle of human pygmies with a flock of herons. The pygmies were often portrayed as pudgy, comical dwarves. They grew to a height of 1 pygma, a pygma being the length from a man's elbow to his knuckle bone, approximately 1.5 foot. In another legend, the pygmies once encountered Hercules, and climbing all over the sleeping hero, attempted to bind him down, but when he stood up they fell off. The story was adapted by Jonathan Swift as a template for Lilliputians. Saint Augustine, 354 to 430, mentions the Pygmies in the City of God, Book 16, Chapter 8, entitled, Whether Certain Monstrous Races of Men Are Derived from the Stock of Adam or Noah's Sons. Later Greek geographers and writers attempted to place the Pygmies in a geographical context. Sometimes they were located in far India, at other times near the Ethiopians of Africa.
What?
The Pygmy bush tribes of Central Africa were so named after the Greek mythological creatures by European explorers in the 19th century.
The bush tribe.
Notes. Joanna was a queen of the Pygmy folk in Greek mythology. She boasted to be more beautiful than the goddess Hera and was transformed by the angry goddess into a crane, Greek, Geronos. The bird descendants of Joanna waged an eternal war on the Pygmies during their winter migration to the shores of the river Oceanus. Joanna was otherwise known as Oinoi. Based on
Oinoi?
Ovid, Metamorphoses 6.89 to 91. Antoninus Liberalis, Metamorphoses 16. Classical literature quotes. Pygmies in myth.
The Pygmy
Homer,
hippo
the
story.
Iliad 3. 3ff, trans. Lattimore, Greek epic c. 8th BC.
I can't make this stuff up.
The clamor of cranes goes high to the heavens, when the cranes escape the winter time and the rains unceasing and clamorously wing their way to streaming Oceanus, bringing the Pygmaioi, pygmy, men bloodshed and destruction. At daybreak they bring on the baleful battle against them. Hesiod, Catalogues of Women, Fragment 40a, from the Oxyrhynchus Papyri, trans. Evelyn White, Greek epic c. 8th or c. 7th BC. To the lands of the Masagetai and of the proud Hemicoons, Hemicines, half-dog men, of the Catidae, underground folk, and of the feeble Pygmaioi, pygmies, and to the tribes of the boundless Melanocrotoi, Melancrati, black skins, and the Libes, North Africans. Huge Gaia, the earth, bear these to Epaphos, soothsaying people, knowing seercraft by the will of Zeus, the lord of oracles, but deceivers, to the end that men whose thought passes their utterance might be subject to the gods and suffer harm. Aethiopes, Ethiopians, and Libyans, and mare-milking Scythians. For verily Epaphos was the child of the almighty son of Cronus, Zeus, and from him sprang the dark Libys and high-souled Aethiopes, and the Catidaoi, underground folk, and feeble Pygmaioi. All these are the offspring of the Lord, the loud thunderer, i.e. Zeus as the father of Epaphos. Hesiod, Catalogues of Women, Fragment 43, from Philodemus on Piety 10. Nor let anyone mock at Hesiod who mentions the troglodytes, and the Pygmaioi, pygmies.
They shall
Aesop,
not be mocked.
Fables 294, from Babrius 26, trans. Gibbs, Greek Fable c. 6th BC. There were some cranes who came to nibble at a field which a farmer had recently sown with wheat. The farmer began throwing rocks at the cranes, crippling a good many of them. As the cranes abandoned the field, they cried to one another, "Let's run away to the land of the Pygmaioi, pygmies." Antoninus Liberalis, Metamorphoses 16, trans. Celoria, Greek mythographer c. 2nd AD. Among the people we call Pygmaioi, pygmies, there was born a girl called Oinoi, who was of flawless beauty, but she was graceless by nature and overweening. She cared not a rap for Artemis and Hera. She was married to one of the citizens, Nicodamus, a good and sensible man, and gave birth to a child called Mopsus. And all the Pygmaioi, who loved to show kindliness, brought her many gifts to celebrate the birth of the child. But Hera found fault with Oinoi for not honoring her and turned her into a crane, elongated her neck, ordained that she should be a bird that flew high. She also caused war to arise between her and the Pygmaioi. Yearning for her child Mopsus, Oinoi flew over houses and would not go away. But all the Pygmaioi armed themselves and chased her away. Because of this there arose a state of war then as well as now between the Pygmaioi and the cranes. Alien, on Animals 15, 29, trans. Schofield, Greek Natural History c. 2nd AD. As to the race of Pygmaioi, pygmies, I have heard that they are governed in a manner peculiar to themselves, and that in fact owing to the failure of the male line a certain woman became queen and ruled over the Pygmaioi. Her name was Joanna, and the Pygmaioi worshipped her as a god, paying her honors too august for a human being. The result was, they say, that she became so puffed up in her mind that she held the goddesses of no account. It was especially Hera, Athena, Artemis, and Aphrodite that, she said, came nowhere near her in beauty. But she was not destined to escape the evil consequences of her diseased imagination. For in consequence of the anger of Hera, she changed her original form into that of a most hideous bird and became the crane of today and wages war on the Pygmaioi because with their excessive honors they drove her to madness and to her destruction. Alien, on Animals 3, 23. Alexander of Mindos, Greek writer c. 1st AD, asserts that when the Storks reach old age they pass to the island of Oceanus, and are transformed into human shape, and that this is a reward for their filial piety towards their parents.